Good evening, good morning, and or good afternoon. You are very welcome to the 75th episode of the Take a Pull podcast, where we will be covering Clonmel Oil Day from Clonmel, their biggest race day of the year, Deck. Yeah, and it's a decent race card, obviously a grade 2 on the card, and a decent mare's chase as well. But first things first, Deck, how are you? How's your week been?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit sore that I'd gone cold on Tommy's call.
Yeah.
But congrats to everyone who backed them.
Who pointed it out. Yeah, at least it didn't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Eagle-eyed listeners or eagle-eared listeners.
Good picking. I'd gone cold on them, and stupidly, but
yeah,
for anyone who did back him, well done, fair play to you.
And for anyone that isn't on Twitter or X, although I don't know how you wouldn't be, because I don't know how else you'd hear about us. I suppose word of mouth, after 75 episodes, word of mouth might get around a bit now. Deck threw up a few tips for the Ferry House card today as we record on a Tuesday evening. Yeah, well, look, you can't win them all. Tommy's call, who was a Deck, who was a fan of him, deserted him today and duly obliged in a handicap hurdle. Son of Jenny's Jewel, good old Jenny's Jewel. You just never know how progressive he could be, given how progressive Jenny's Jewel was as she got older. Maybe one to keep an eye on, but we're not here to talk about Jenny's Jewel or her children. We're here to talk about Clonmel. A bit of housekeeping before we start, Deck. Top 76 is likely going to be our listeners' horses, or listeners' suggestions of horses to follow, which we will cover. We haven't forgotten about that. I've been setting that up. And Deck has a few horses that he needs to look up. So do I. We have even an 89 rated mare suggested in there that we need to keep an eye on. So, as well as the usual suspects. So, very much looking forward to that podcast, actually. And just before we do start, Deck, Countdown is out on holidays, is he?
He's gone on holidays. Yeah,
I saw the post. It was nice.
Yeah, he is gone on holidays, and he looks happy and content, and he deserves a good break. He's been putting his field for a few weeks without lots of grass in it, while the weather's still mild. So he's going to it's an all inclusive there. So
lovely. Just not quite Cancun, but it's, I suppose, the equine version of Cancun.
Yeah,
horse probably wouldn't like Cancun. Yeah.
There's grass everywhere.
Yeah,
nice weather.
Ideal.
Yeah, so he'll enjoy himself.
Nice things to look at.
Yeah. So look, it'd be good for him. He deserves his break. He well deserves a break.
Very much so.
Yeah, just look forward to next year with him now. Please God, everything goes well over the winter. And
yeah. And I suppose the way you kind of look at it, the way he's bred, 7 rising 8, like we're kind of coming into almost peak Countdown. I suppose there's still definitely a good bit more room under the bonnet, but he'd be, I still think there's another, there could be another good few pounds improvement to be found in there.
The other thing I'd say is he leaves it all on the track as well.
He does, yeah.
You'd worry, how many more miles are left, but we'll enjoy him while he's improving, and look, we'll always enjoy him, but he's given us that was one of the best weeks of my life. He's given us one of the the best seasons in racing ever. So look, if he never ran again, it wouldn't matter, but hopefully he does come back fit and healthy and gives us another good summer next year.
Yeah, I expect him to. I think there's definitely a few more wins in them. Anyway, we'll start off, Deck, with the 12:20, the first race from Clonmel, the INH Stallion Owners EBF Maiden Hurdle. It's over a trip just shy of 2.5 miles. Average is probably the best word to describe this in terms of the way Maiden Hurdles go, especially as we kind of get into November. Although, it's a competitive enough Maiden Hurdle, despite it not lacking a few decent names. Obviously, Brave Fortune, who's Pat Doyle's at a few opportunities over hurdles now, has run to a fair enough mark, hasn't really gone on. You could probably say the same about Charlie's Dilemma for John McConnell. Charlie's Dilemma it's probably fair to say just about sets a standard. We have a former point-to-point winner in Champagne Avenue making a rules debut. Lady Rose Hackett down there for Henry de Bromhead as well. A mare up here against the Geldings may have to improve a little bit on her recent spin. Well, not recent, but her first spin over hurdles behind Roguestown Girl. They're probably the protagonist, Deck. Who do you fancy?
Yeah, well, Farron Glory won this Maiden last year, so
I wouldn't say there's anything like that and like him in here now. I wouldn't say.
No, so it probably is. You're probably right when you call it average. Charlie's Dilemma, he's placed in 5 of 6 maidens, but you get a little bit worried now.
Yeah.
I think he's probably going to place again here. The one I like is the mare Lady Rose Hackett. She said she was third in a Tipperary maiden behind Roxtown Girl and Me Lucky Colleen. Roxtown Girl actually went to Chepstow and won last month. Yeah. Others behind have won as well. She's a point-to-point winner and she's only 5, so I think she'll take the beating here. But yeah, it's not the most exciting maiden in the world.
No, yeah, it's probably a fair way to put it. I suppose you could make an argument that after a bit of a break, you know, he's being 6 years old, Champagne Avenue might be, in terms of maturity, a little bit ahead of these. And well, obviously with age he is, but he kind of put it all together after a break last time out. He comes here less than 3 weeks later in his rules debut. He could be one that maybe runs well. He might be a decent enough price, probably might get even a double figure price. He could even, backing him each way could be a way into the race, as he's ran to a fair enough level. Obviously, and he's only coming back to 2.5 miles. Ground shouldn't be that bad for him, but I would agree with you. I think if you were the owner of Lady Rose Hackett, you're getting the mare's allowance. You do need to improve, don't get me wrong, but she's the most unexposed, isn't she? Like the others have had plenty of opportunities, as you said there, Deck. Like I'd be with you. I don't know if I'd be willing to, you know, get stuck in, but I do think she's the most likely winner, assuming she can improve. She's the likely favourite, yard flying as well. So yeah, it would be Lady Rose Hackett for myself as well. Next is the 2 mile median auction maiden hurdle, sponsored by Red Mills. Probably fair to say this isn't the strongest of maiden hurdles, although there's a lot more unexposed horses in here at the same time as well. The one that kind of caught my eye was the Barry Fitzgerald runner, Gino Bella, 4-year-old filly by its Gino, obviously the sire of Sir Gino. A good run behind Butch Cassidy, who's a very interesting 4-year-old in the Magna colours, trained by Philip Fenton. Be very interesting to see where maybe he goes later on in the season, whether he goes hurdling or he stays in bumpers. I just thought it was interesting when I was studying for this race. I noticed he was a half sibling to Fiona, the champion bumper winner that Gordon Elliott trained. So it might be interesting to see where Butch Cassidy goes. But anyway, as I said, the 4-year-old filly Gino Bella, I thought was definitely the most interesting entrant in here, Deck. What way do you see this going?
Oh, it's probably Al McCarthy's for me. Herbie Drover. He's 4 lengths toward at Limerick, and he was toured before that behind 2 nice looking horses that was at Listowel. He wasn't far behind Cossack Shack and Pigeon House back in May. I think he's improving, and I hit that form would set the standard here for me. So look, again, it's not, I'd say he'll be short enough. I'd say those first, say Lady Rose Hackett could be short enough, and he'll also be short. It's not very exciting, but as you said, it's average enough. It's not going to take an awful lot with him, and he probably, you know, carries the strongest form into the race.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point. Did you have any opinion on the Gavin Cromwell runner, Stuntman Steve, who ran once in a bumper, well behind the yellow clay on bumper and racecourse debut, then reverted back into point-to-points, put up a postcode worth of forms of fall, pulled up, and then managed to win point-to-point after not completing in 5 attempts. Quite an interesting runner, just by the amount of letters beside it before it's kind of started off. But obviously stable debut for Gavin Cromwell. Obviously has some sort of ability if he's managed to finally win a point-to-point.
Yeah. So you'd wonder how deep that point-to-point was. It was a 5-year-old point-to-point, and
you'd wonder how big the fences were given his line of form as well.
He's probably here because he qualifies for the race.
That's exactly why he's here. Yeah. Ironically, though, never went off at a double figure price in any of his point-to-points. Biggest price he went off was 8 to 1.
That's the biggest price in a point-to-point.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah, it's probably rounded.
Yeah, that's
400%.
If you know 100 runners in a race,
yeah,
the biggest price you get is 8 to 1. Have you ever had a point-to-point?
Actually, funny enough, never.
You'll never get bigger than 8 to 1 on a point.
That may as well. That's like back in the rag of the field, and very interesting. And it's just weird seeing that type of form line, and anyway, and it not being like a hunter's chase or something. I'm going to stick with Gino Bella. I've a sneaky suspicion that race at Ballon Road might be actually a little bit better than it's looking out to be. Obviously, we haven't seen Butch Cassidy or Swingin' Safari, who were first and second that day. So it might take a little bit of time before the form really does show anything.
The horse
really,
that was a couple of lengths behind was pulled up. Yeah,
I did see that. Yeah. So, but look, I'd be interested to see how kind of Butch Cassidy gets on. We keep a little eye on that. Maybe one for Tap 76 because he looked like a nice horse and obviously expensively bought and well bred. So, and very interesting colours too. On to the Clonmel Oil Service Station Handicap Hurdle. It's over 3 miles. I'm wondering if the Porterstown Handicap Chase might be what a few of these entrants here have to eye on later on in the month. Walking on Glass, I know was running it before. Donkey Years, who's came back to hurdling and has done quite well. Chance that he maybe even lines up in it. Regina Dracones as well, another one that could end up running in it. That's a 3.5 mile handicap, by the way. I think it's at Ferryhouse on Drinmore Day, I think.
That's it.
Yeah, so just for anyone that maybe wasn't aware, over the Irish Grand National course and distance. So, Deck, not a bad old race here. Tagman winner last time out, beaten Run for Oscar. I think that was his first attempt at 3 miles. And then obviously the 4-year-old Tranquil Sea. Quite rare you see a 4-year-old going 3 miles at this time of year. But look, an interesting entry nonetheless. But who do you like?
Look, Tagman is cleared on ratings, isn't he? He's probably the class horse of the race. And he's an 8-year-old. He's a maiden winner and he's a chase winner. He beat Run for Oscar the last day. Getting £4. It was over this trip, and he's been behind some talented horses. But my concern would be the only time his mark has been tested, and it was over fences, he was quite poor. He ran off 139, so that would worry me a little bit. Even though he's probably he's the best. I'd say he's definitely the best horse in the race. But I like Tulreevy Lad. He won 2 handicap hurdles over shorter, but he ran well anytime he ran over 3 miles, and that was including the last day he was second at Limerick. He won a chase off 106 in September. He's in here off 112. Look, I don't think there's anything too well handicapped in here, and I'd imagine Tagman's he's gonna be very, very short, and I will be keen to take him on because the only time his handicap mark was tested, he was quite poor. So that 134 might be an inflated mark, but I'll have a go at Tulreevy Lad.
Yeah, I the one I kind of was, again, it was tentative as well, but was probably Donkey Years. I know he won last time out at Listowel, but again, for the reason that we know he likes 3 miles, the yard is flying. I don't see why you'd be stopping him. 10-year-old, he's not getting any younger. He's obviously bounced back to form. Again, Tagman, I kind of echo what you said, Deck. I'm not mad on the rating of 134. Like, as you said, it looks like the way he's been campaigned, they've avoided handicaps. And obviously they're coming here. Plains Indian, a little bit to prove, I think. I think it might be a trip query for him as well, possibly. I don't think he's gone anywhere near 3 miles. I think the one time he did try it, he was well beaten, possibly even pulled up. I think it might have been his last start over hurdles. Walking on Glass is a chaser. Grange Walk, better known for his exploits over 2 miles, is getting older. Easily has the capabilities winning off 113. It's just is 3 miles really what he wants. Tranquil Sea is too young for me at the moment. I can see where you're coming from, but Tulreevy Lad 100% would definitely have a chance. Paddy Hanlon £7 good there as well. Regina Dracones, I'd be almost betting my bottom dollar this is a prep for something, maybe over fences, as I said, maybe the Porterstown if he gets in. So kind of came down on Donkey Years by process of elimination, really, Deck. So not an easy race, but I think we might have the winner between us with one of those two. You can nearly even back them both, and I'd be comfortable enough. So I don't know if either of them be favourites. As you said, I think Tagman's going to set the mark here, isn't he?
I'd say Tagman be short enough here. It's not a big field. There's 8, and he, when you first look at his form, he looks the class horse of the race. Like, he has been behind some really, really nice horses, but this is a handicap, and as I said, the only time his mark was tested, he was quite poor. So he might like he might have just been kind of well. I don't know. Was he well placed to finish behind nice horses, or was he poorly placed? They
I
probably thought
suppose.
more of him, and he's ran into, he's ran up this mark that he's not capable of running to.
Yeah, watch him go bolt in at the
Bolt
Dublin
it.
Racing Festival now or later on in the year in a handicap. Anyway, yeah, but he's an interesting runner, but as I said, I'd be very comfortable taking him on. The TA Morris Memorial Irish EBF Mares Chase is next. This is again actually just over 2.5 miles this time on the Chase course. This is the 205 on the card, and it's going to see the return of Allegory Devassi. No easy task here. Rate 151, in my opinion, is possibly not quite the mare she was. Maybe that's a little bit unfair, but sorry?
She's only 7.
Yeah, but like she's probably an old 7, is she? Like I don't know the
I
best
was
way.
surprised when I looked at it and seen she was only 7, and I think on her day she's high class, but she can run some stinkers.
Yeah, like she beat Riviere de Tel in February of last year, over 2 miles, and the way she jumped and traveled that day was pretty impressive, and it made me think, does she prefer 2 miles maybe these days, because she tried 2.5 miles, then the next twice, and before it was hammered by Riviere de Tel, and she never never looked like beating Brides Hill on her final run of last season at any stage, and if you backed Brides Hill, you would have been, you'd be halfway down the back and you'd be nearly getting ready to collect. She could be anything. Obviously, the race fit mares rattled off a very quick hat-trick 2 weeks since an easy enough win. Shouldn't be much problems for her. That was at Clonmel, so returning to this course, obviously up a couple furlongs trip, shouldn't be any problem to her though. Look, it's probably just a match between those two. Deck. The rest are probably just kind of running for black type. Like, Must Be Obeyed is no mug, but she's probably not good enough rate 132. Pink in the Park, look, I think it's just, she's never really lived up to that, I wouldn't say outstanding, but a very, very hype-inducing win in a bumper on her first ever run, I suppose the best way of putting it. She was well beaten by Jordan last time out. Last time out. I don't think that was the strongest grade 3 in the world either. So do you go with the race fit? She could be anything, or would you be with, do I want to even say the class element in Allegory Devassi, because as I said, she kind of disappointed me the last twice, but who do you like?
Yeah, look, the thing about Allegory Devassi is I just couldn't trust her. She can run way below par. I think it's usually towards the end of the season, but still she's the giveaway here. She has won 4 chases, but I will take her on. Now, it's very interesting that Pink in the Park gave she could be anything £7 at the stall, and she was beating 6 lengths. She gets £7 off her. That's a stone in the difference.
Right.
So like it's kind of I don't know. I think she could be anything. I think she's back to her best and possibly better than her best. She's 3 from 4 over fences, and she was an easy winner here the last day. She's also 7. I think she's better than Pink in the Park. Can she cope with that swing of a stone? I think she can. I think she was comfortable enough beating her. So it nearly put me off earlier, but the more I think about it, I think she's fit, she's improving, and I've always liked her. I was a bit harsh on her, thought she'd lost her way, but I think she's back improving again, and I think she's going to rack up a few more wins this season, so I'll be wish she could be anything, because I can't trust Allegory Devassi.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I couldn't trust Pink in the Park either. I just always think she's, and probably through no fault of her own, what she did in her race course debut at Listowel has always given her a little bit of a reputation. And yeah, she could be anything. Is the fit mare that's rattled off a hat-trick. Has done very little wrong in all her chase starts to date. So yeah, she could be anything for me. Depending on the price, would be how involved I do get though. So the main event then, Deck, is the Grade 2 Clonmel Oil Chase. Usually a great race to start off a season in. Probably not as strong as previous years. It's probably fair to say. Saint Sam, obviously coming back off his last coming back from 2 wins. Braun is now under unstable debut for Thomas Gibney. Fakir Duderay, who we've only seen a handful of times in the last year or so, only ran twice last season. I think a former winner of this race as well, if I'm not mistaken. Fildor, probably the worst purchased horse in the history of horse racing at this stage. How much did he cost again? 620,000 from the dispersal. Solness, who's won his last 2, and then Influential Lady, with all due respect, is a banter entry. So they're the 6 deck. Who do you fancy here?
Oh, look, it's definitely not as the strongest renewal ever. Like, just looking at the Roll of Honor, like you've Allaho, Duvan, Kenboy, Road to Riches, Champagne Fever, Arvika Legionnaire, guys in Europe. Beaver Salmon actually made his debut in the race. Sorry, not his race car's debut, his chase debut.
Yeah.
There's Doran's Pride. Like, there's some serious animals have won this race. But
we used to be a country. Beaver Salmon. We used to be a proper country. Horses making their chasing debut in the Clonmel Oil
in an open grade too. Yeah,
brilliant.
Look, obviously I'm quite excited about Braun being back, and I am happy he's moved stables, because I think there had to be something amiss with him, and he's probably just a number of Willies, so he might get the attention he deserves in Tom Gibney's, and like hopefully they get to the bottom of him. Like, you have to remember, he was toured to the Real Whacker and
traveling all over everything as well. Coming down the hill.
Yeah, like, and then he was toured again on Aintree in the Grade 1, and he just hasn't quite been the same since. So I think there was something amiss with him, and they might just not have found it, or he was probably just lost in the big stable. So I'm excited for him this season now. Like, I actually think I'd be very, very keen on Solness here, Andy. And I think Braun might be the only one who could put it up to him if he's back to his best. Solness still only a 6-year-old. He's been a high-end handicapper to date, but look, if this is a Grade 2 field, he well deserves his place. Like, he's rated 154 at the weights. He's weighted to win this race. Assuming Fakir Duderay is regressing at 9, he's rated. He was a juvenile hurdler. I don't know whether he's on decline or he's been stopped. What do you think?
Fakir Duderay?
Yeah.
I'd be worried that he's in decline because, as you said, he was a juvenile hurdler. He's had a few haymaker of races in his day. I made a joke that I'd love to see him in the cross country rules. Now the cross country's reverted to a handicap, and rightly so. But he's just so nimble and quick.
Is the mark coming down to be competitive in, if he is going that route, or like, is he? Could he be a Grand National horse? Like,
you never know. He strikes me as a horse that would really, really enjoy the banks. I just think he's quick and nimble at his obstacles. He rarely makes mistakes. I think he'd just have a bit of fun if he was freshened up, and maybe we seen Enda Balder take the reins. I don't know, but I don't like. It's hard to know what coming from those quarters if he's regressing or not. I still think he's a day in the sun, though, doesn't he? Surely.
Yeah, but I don't like.
It's not going to be here.
I don't think it's here.
No,
because I think he's to run that mark down a little bit further before.
100%. Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it'll be.
Whether
it will be in the handicap cross country at Cheltenham, but I think rather than him being in total decline, they're running that mark down to. And he does have a nice pot in him, I'd say.
There's a cross country on the Punches. When's the first cross country on the Punches Town card? I know there's one in January, I think.
No, you've won before then.
There's one well before that. No, there's one, because I remember just when Spillans Tower won the Killiney or whatever it was. There was a cross country on that day.
Yeah.
And then there's definitely another one. I could see him just popping up on one of them.
There's one in November, I'm sure, is there?
I think there is. There has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be.
There is. There'll be one. There's one this month. There'll be one on the weekend of the new Winter Festival. But I definitely think I think they're running the mark. I don't think he'd be getting involved here. I'd be very, very surprised to see him win. So, like, Fedor, you reckon they don't go for 2 miles to Dr. Dino's?
they don't look. Everyone was saying he was a Ryanair horse. He was well supported for the Ryanair anti-post. They did run him in the race. They couldn't give him away on the day. He went off like 33-1 or something and was never mapped. Was never mapped behind Journey with Me, and then they ran him in the 2 mile grade 1 and he was tailed off after a bit of fence. I don't know what this horse wants, Deck, to be brutally honest with you. Unless they're just plummeting his mark for a chance at a handicap. I don't know, maybe the Danmore or the Dublin Racing Festival or even the Grand Annual, I don't know, but like a 2 mile handicap chase is where I think that if this horse is going to win a big pot, it's going to be a decent 2 mile handicap chase. I just don't know which one.
Right. Look, I think Solness takes a good bit of whack in here. 6-year-old, improving. He's won his last 2. I think one of them was over hurdles, but he's a horse on the up, and who knows? Like he's only 6. He could be a future Grade 1 chaser.
Could very well be. Well be.
I think we could see something quite impressive here on Thursday. And the only one I could see putting it up to him would be a Braun back to his best, but I couldn't trust he would be back to his best.
Yeah, you're probably discounting the favourite, because even though he's given the weight away, I'd imagine, and it was O'Toy won that last time out, Jesus. It was St. Sam, has to be. He's going to go like this. It's easy to get your horse buried in this. Just stay about 20 lengths off the pace, because St. Sam's going to set it. Fakir Duderee be out the back of the telly with Fildor and Influential Lady. And then you'll have Solness probably tracking St. Sam by 3 or 4 lengths. And then somewhere in purgatory is Braun trying to get his confidence back. The funny thing about Braun, though, Deck, like, he seems to be a horse that might prefer decent ground. Like, if you're going through his form, obviously it was soft ground, but it wasn't like the softest ground in the world when he was beaten by Jerry Colombe and the Real Whacker in Cheltenham. And then obviously at Aintree behind Jerry Colombe again. Like, his 3 runs last season or 4 runs last season, Wexford was borderline bottomless when he was beaten at odds on behind Manila Crooner. Was odds on bottomless again at Tremor when he was beaten with Jungle Boogie. Very, very testing conditions in the Thyestes when pulled up behind Ain't That a Shame. And then I think he was carrying near top weight in the Leinster National again, carrying 11 stone 7. And that was with Cian Callahan's £5 claim, so it would have been 11-12. So he would have been top weight that day as well. I think this horse just probably wants a bit of decent ground and just get his confidence back. Very, very easy to, and this is where you're saying when he goes to a smaller yard, maybe they're just running them. It's like, sure, it's only Braun. And now the thing about it is, a horse like Braun would be most trainers' pride and joy, like a mid 150s genuine classy chaser. That probably barely gets 3 miles and probably hates very testing ground. And all they did last year was run him over 3 miles and run him on very, very testing ground. So, 3 miles on decent ground or 2.5 miles on decent ground with a pace to aim at might see this horse come back to a little bit of form. And, if he can find that form, like the Real Whacker found at Wetherby, they can come back, especially Braun. Yeah. He's not an old horse. I could definitely see him going close. Could absolutely see him going close with a bit of decent ground. Would I want to back him to finish second? Depends what price he is, but like, I wouldn't put you off and put it that way. And Thomas Gibney is no strange man to getting horses back as well. Very, very good trainer, obviously, with obviously Intant Rafi and Kinter Kalanisi, and another nice horse they're going to have to go novice chasing with this season. The 3:15 then, Deck. Well covered there, the Clonmel Oil. And just before we jump off it, you're with Solness, correct?
Yeah, I think we could see something quite impressive from Solness.
Right.
But it's just because I need to see Braun back to his best again.
Back to his, yeah.
Obviously,
fair enough.
I want Braun to win this race and every race he runs in. But
you never know.
Look, you want to see that he's still in love with the game, I suppose.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
Before getting involved. So I think if he is still in love with the game, he's the most likely to trouble Solness. But I think a 6-year-old Solness who's improving, I think he'd be a future Grade 1 chaser.
Excellent. Very, very interesting. Right, well, the hardest race to solve on the card is the Prior Park Service Station Clonmel Handicap Chase. It's a not to 102, but the top rated horse is 97 and the second in is 92. So this is proper low grade stuff. And even though there's not much at the top of the weights, it's a very compressed handicap because we've got our 16 runners with 3 reserves. There's duck eggs and letters all over the shop here, Deck. It's not an easy one to kind of make heads or tails off. Crows Ate the Apple Tart from Michael Winters, probably going to be your favourite. He's in consistent form and is doing well. Bite That as well for Pat Flynn in there as well. Pair of seconds, but creeping up the handicap. I think creeping up the handicap as a result. We'll double check that. No, a little bit, up £3, I suppose. What way do you see this, Deck? Is there anything here on? Is there anything here stepping up and trip second on the handicap, or is it a different?
No, there was nothing really. I found this tough now, and there's even 3 reserves in here too.
I know. Yeah.
They haven't made this one easy, but I would give a chance to Philip Rothwell's mare, Game and Glory. She bumped into 2 the last day, and one of them you mentioned at the top of the show. She was third behind Hand Over Fist and Kiandana at Kilbeggan. Both have won over fences since. I thought Hand Over Fist went well for a long way in the Cork National and probably didn't get home. He was probably last off the bridle, or maybe the trip was just too far for him. But look, they've both flanked the form. She ran the beginners down the last day. She was second in June of 93. She is 0 from 8 over fences, but she won over hurdles off this mark back in October 22. It's not a race that's going to take. Look, there's nothing too well handicapped in here, I don't think. They're all quite exposed. So, like, we're always looking for something, stepping up and trip, going to show something off a mark for the first time. Kind of looking for something that's down to a winnable mark here, I think. And yeah, in a very difficult race, I'll side with Game and Glory.
Game and Glory then for Deck. Yeah, it's a really hard race to kind of make heads or tails of, to be honest with you. K Rain, it's interesting to see a horse rated 87 that won 2 starts back over fences. Or well, 3 starts back if you include the hurdles run, but like to be rated 87 and have a win under your belt, like it's kind of actually impressive. I'm probably have to sit on the fence here, Deck. It's a difficult race. Do you want to go to consistent runner, or do you find something that, as you said, is lurking? It's not one that I put too much effort into. I saw this and nearly started getting sick trying to go through the form. I hope there's no one French listening to be getting sick out of your pronunciation. It's Serion. What did I say? Kestrain.
K Rain.
K Rain. Close enough. I had a 50-50 chance, I feel. Anyway, watch racing TV free for 31 days. I wish I could, but I would pay for it like everybody else. So the bumper here, Deck, 2 miles. I think it's 2 miles, isn't it? Yep, 2 miles. I doubt you spent much time on this one, did you?
I'd say Gardens wins it.
Yeah. Relieved of duties.
Point winner.
Yeah, Sholokov out of a network mare. I'd say this thing would get 40 miles. Let's see where. Let's see.
Just looking.
The Locknamore Point winner. I bet you 85 grand. Okay, from the Land Rover sale, Mags Hotel. Interesting. Yeah, look, I'd say that thing I'd say that's an absolute brew, and I'd say it says Bay Geldon. I was expecting him to be like jet black. I'd say you could ride that thing into battle. I wouldn't mind seeing that going around the parade ring. I'd say he's a huge horse. Be interested to see how it gets on though. Of winning a 5-year-old point, I believe, as well. So probably not the strongest of points, and that's why he costs 85 grand and not 385 grand. Right. Well, that's probably brings us to the end of top 75. Do we have a nap at the top, Deck? Like, I don't know if she could be anything, or the Bromhead's there. I don't know if it's
Yeah, I don't know, Andy, but I do want to give a shout out to the Clamper and Lucan who spotted me last week, and I had paid, but he recognised me, and we had a quick chat about Kiandana at Cheltenham. So I will be parking there for the next so many Thursdays, so I don't expect to have to pay the next time.
Yeah, wait, run in to feed the fish. Is this outside the office, or is this the?
No. This is up in Lucan.
Very good. Okay, well, yeah. Shout out to the Clamper. That was nice today, and he paid, which is the.
I didn't get your name. I'm sorry. I had
he
paid,
might,
yeah.
he might come
I might not pay the next time. Now we're mates.
Very good. Awesome. Right. Shout out to the clampers. We end top 75 Clonmel Oil Day. We'll be back soon with top 76, as I said, going over your horses to follow, listeners' horses to follow. I'm looking forward to that. But until then, guys, just keep like, share, and subscribe and comment and all the good stuff. Bye bye. Bye for now.
Cheers.